Each week, Greensboro Housing Coalition receives hundreds of calls from clients who are in housing crisis. They are either displaced by foreclosure, being evicted from their homes, or becoming ill by the very places they live. GHC treats all of our clients with the respect and dignity they deserve. We advocate for our clients each day, making sure they receive what they need: decent, safe, and affordable housing.
Most people don't understand what it's like to live in poverty, to work that job, to barely be able to get through in a one-bedroom apartment. It's a struggle to even be able to put food on the table or go to the doctor when you need to go. Greensboro Housing Coalition's been around for 27 years. We're a nonprofit agency, and we have about 13 employees who see upwards of about 4,000 people a year who come into our office in some sort of housing crisis. That housing crisis can be anything from homelessness to home ownership or a foreclosure, those types of situations. So we're able to sit down with people, talk about their situation, look at their budgets, and find out what types of services or programs that we might be able to refer them to. We build coalitions, be it a policy issue with code enforcement, or whether or not it's a direct service issue like helping people through foster care placement situations and keeping families together, keeping people in their house.
The Greensboro Housing Coalition is committed to programs and processes that make a home a safe place.
Healthy Home Team itself is comprised of going out, looking at units, and then once we get a call, we go out and assess the situation. What I really like about it is that we're able to make an impact right away. Some of the bad stuff that I run into every day. Someday I get to the apartment or the home and the roaches meet me at the door. I can see them crawling on the outside of the door, and I get in the home, they're covered and infested, and some of the babies, if it's a small child there, the roaches are all in the crib of the child. And then sometimes with the water leak, the roof leak, and a lot of the mold issues that you have, some of them are so strong that, we have to put masks on to go in there and, to talk to the tenants. And then you see the tenant actually living in there like every day, like nothing's wrong. We go in, we educate the tenant, then we educate the landlord, and we try to get them both to work on what needs to happen to get the situation corrected immediately.
People who are living in poverty work minimum wage jobs to afford that $400 a month rent, and that's the struggle. And once you come into that cycle, your husband or wife leaves you. You can't afford to pay on your own. You get that eviction. The next place is a little bit worse than the place that you were in before. If you happen to get evicted from that place, then the next place becomes even worse than that.
I got a call from some of the executive center, and then I went over there. And when I went into those units, those particular units were some of the pretty profound units that we've seen here in Greensboro with the damage and neglect from maintenance on it. I just knew immediately it was something that needed to be dealt with.
I came to live at some of the executive center because where we was at, we could not afford it. And so we needed somewhere to live without living in the woods or on a bridge. And even though it wasn't right, but it still had a floor, a ceiling, and walls. So it was on the inside. So that's why we lived there. Because I got to keep her alive, keep her safe. $480 for a month. I just hate that we had to be in that situation. The bed bugs, you can't sleep. You're getting bit all the time, every second. Cockroaches coming under the door. And then the wall was not connected to the floor. And you complain, but they don't care.
Greensboro Housing Coalition, how may I help you?
I found out about Housing Coalition. Not only did they listen, they came out. They investigated us, and they got us out of that situation, and now we got a place. We got a stove, we got a kitchen, we got a fridge, we can eat. And toilet tissue, people don't realize how important that is, but now you can afford it. You don't have to go and ask people, do they mind if they give you, just roll off some tissue on their hand. You can go and get all the tissue you need.
And that's what really changes when somebody goes from a situation where they're paying all of their money for their housing to a situation where they're only paying a third of their money for their housing. They can afford other things. They can buy medicine. They can buy toilet paper. They can buy food.
We can live peacefully because of housing coalition. We home. We are finally home.
The ability to assist Lily Holloman and her mother is an example of the Landlord-Tenant Partnership, a joint venture of the Greensboro Housing Coalition and the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro.
The Landlord-Tenant Partnership is one of the greatest partnerships I can think of in Greensboro because it represents bringing the Community Foundation together with donors, with the Greensboro Housing Coalition, and working closely with the City Housing Department. It provides deposit guarantees for tenants. It helps incentivize homeowners in fixing up their homes for quality housing units for this community. The Landlord-Tenant Partnership has enabled over 100 families to get in safe, affordable housing. Housing is as much about economic development as education is. It's as much about economic development as new jobs are. We've got to have housing at the forefront, and for what we've done in the history of Greensboro, housing has been something we do so well, and it's something we can continue to do well, and right now we have a huge opportunity in front of us to be extraordinary.
The effects of unaffordable and substandard housing are especially hard on children. In fact, families, particularly single mothers, who cannot provide safe, adequate housing for their children, run the risk of having their children placed in the foster care system.
The Foster Care Reunification Project is called the Greensboro Housing Coalition, DSS, Foster Care Housing Partnership Program. And it's a program that we designed in reference to helping foster care families be reunified because the children are in foster care and the parents are separated from them, and we're trying to help them get back together where housing is their primary issue at this time. After receiving referrals from DSS, the families come in for an intake and we talk to them about their housing situation, their incomes, and we do a housing search for them, giving them listings of landlords that have rental properties, and they go out to look for landlords that are willing to rent to them. Our agency will go out and inspect the property to make sure it's safe for that particular family to go into that home. The need is greater than the available units that are out there, and only about 25% of the people who have a need are able to get a unit.
Children come into foster care. They go and live with another family. So if you have 3 children in foster care placement, the minimum cost is going to be close to $1,800, and it could go close to $6,000 for the host family to hold them there. We can house a family for $800 a month to $1,000 a month. And if 3 children are there, you can see the cost savings. What the cost is going to be long term, children who age out of the foster care system end up being kind of a draw on the system for the rest of their lives. So if we can have outcomes where children live with their families and grow up and move on and become productive citizens, it's a whole lot more cost effective in the short term and in the long term.
There's just the benefit of knowing that kids are leaving their childhood feeling safe and secure because they've been with their families. They've had the love and support of a family who was able to provide for their basic needs. And that's what housing is, really. It's a basic human need. Well, I don't think we've really looked at what the benefit of a solid housing childhood could mean to a child. And those benefits are real.
There's not enough affordable housing in Greensboro to meet the demand. And so the big function of minimum housing code enforcement is to preserve our existing housing stock and actually bring up housing to a higher standard so that there are more healthy and safe units available to rent that are still affordable. And also our department works with larger developers to try to bring new affordable units on the market while we're trying to preserve the existing housing stock base.
The main focus for Greensboro is ensuring that people have safe, affordable housing. It's a daunting task considering the considerable need in our community, but by working together, we're making substantial progress in achieving our goal. It's working with organizations like the Greensboro Housing Coalition. It's working with private developers. It's working with state stakeholders. So I'm very proud with the progress that Greensboro is making. We haven't reached our goal yet, but we're well on our way. And it's great to have so many partners work with us in doing so.
We need to have a large pool of affordable housing for everyone. And my hope is that when people think of affordable housing, that they really put faces with these houses, that they are individuals, They are families. They're not anonymous people. There are people that we see every day on the street, that we might pass in the supermarket, that we go to church with, that we have to really understand the stories that are connected to this issue.
What this is really about is community helping community, and we can't rely on the federal government to swoop in and fix all of our problems in Greensboro. We can't rely on those national foundations to come in and fix Greensboro. If we care about Greensboro, we need to fix it ourselves, and it requires a lot of different players and a lot of different stakeholders to be involved. And Greensboro is really doing some amazing things in that respect, and I hope we can continue.
At the Greensboro Housing Coalition, our phones continue to ring every day. Your support plays a vital role in safe, affordable housing for all our citizens.